everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Coulson.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
And welcome to the first week of TOFOP Beyond 2000.
Beyond 2000.
I think we're... Hang on, wait. My phone's ringing.
Hang on.
Yeah, we're getting sued by Channel 7. Apparently we can't use that title.
I think you can now that everything is beyond 2000.
Yeah, I guess once you're beyond 2000, everything's beyond 2000.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's a retrospective.
Didn't they? Was it Beyond 2000? I got the feeling they changed their name. From
Even
Beyond
2000.
Yeah, didn't they? Like when we got... Because they were Beyond 2000, then we got to 2000, then they're like... Beyond 2000 and beyond?
Yeah,
something?
I think they were also beyond 1984 at one stage, beyond
The
1996.
Yeah, the eerie future of 2001.
I mean, it's interesting.
What is Beyond 2000?
Yeah, what is Beyond 2000? Not the TV show.
No.
But
I actually auditioned to be a host of Beyond 2000.
the reboot or the original?
The
Beyond
reboot.
2000?
I think it's 2007 when I
was going to say, are you a time traveler?
No.
Are you Beyond 2000?
I remember distinctly because they gave me a futuristic product to promote, in my audition.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a little it was a keyboard that was like a keyboard you could take anywhere.
You got to get this cat to play this keyboard. It'll be massive.
I was like, what are you talking about? That'll never work. No, it was like how would you describe it? So it was like a keyboard that you could like just rubber that you could lay out on any surface and play.
Yeah, okay.
Well, play a piano. Like it had a little speaker built into it, and you know, like a what do you call it? A
like a mat.
What are they called? Not keyboards. Like are they called keyboards?
Organ?
Like electric keyboard. Electric keyboard.
Yeah.
But without the board, beyond 2000. But I can't fucking play the piano. And I remember like my audition sucked because I couldn't demonstrate like, you know, hey, we've got this in the year 2007, in the year 2009, we'll all be playing pianos like this. Dun, 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 dun. Like,
Also, they were wrong.
what do you mean?
People aren't playing those. Like, I mean,
That's
there is
true.
a version of that product that exists, I believe, but it's not like it's taken off.
Commonplace.
It's not like Tim Minchin when he's touring around the world doing his comedy tours.
Rolls out
a mat, a yoga mat, and a keyboard mat, and he's done for the rest of the gig.
It is true. I mean, I wonder if on Beyond 2000 they ever predicted like apps, for instance, like smartphones and apps.
Wouldn't be a very exciting episode, though, would it? It's like you'll have a smartphone and there'll be apps, and everyone will be like,
Yeah, it's just
what is that?
footage
man?
of like people staring, like a little black box in their
In
hand.
the future, everyone will stare at their phone at all times. You'll run into people all the time in the street because they're staring at their phone. No one will ever make eye contact to you. Beyond 2000.
You'll catch up with your friends at a cafe and they'll spend half the time staring at that little device rather than looking at you.
I mean, it was so funny when we were doing our TOFOP live show that people would have heard by now because we put it up in the feed so that we could start Beyond 2000.
Beyond 2000.
month.
Should we still tell people what Beyond 2000
No.
is?
Well, I mean, I think we've teased it a little bit so far.
Okay.
We've planted the idea of Beyond 2000.
Do you remember how the Beyond 2000 theme went?
No.
Dun, 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 and then there's a robot pushing a girl on a swing.
Okay, so what came first, Push It by Salt and Pepper or the Beyond 2000 thing?
I'm going to see if I can find it.
The way that you just did it then, like, is that that first bit feels like Push It by Salt and Pepper, and you're saying that there was a girl being pushed in
my
the
God,
opening
I didn't
credits.
think of that.
Is there a connection point here between Push It by Salt and Pepper and the Beyond 2000 opening credits?
Beyond 2000 credits, right? That's what we need to look up.
Yeah.
Right. What was it called? The other one, the other Beyond 2000. I'm sure it was even more 2000. Beyond 2002, Electric Boogaloo.
2000 bitches. It's 2000 right now.
Well,
We're in it.
Ironically, we're in the listener studios, and I can't access the Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the fucking dark ages.
2000.
It's beyond 2000. I'm having to tether off my phone. My phone, which also can't connect to the internet right now, apparently. So
okay.
Let's tell people about the live show.
All right, let's tell them. Yeah, so at the live show, we had two incredible guests, Kirsty Webeck, who is so funny, and Ed Cavalier.
Both making their TOFOP Live debuts.
But they both were so suited to the show. Like they were, but not just individually, but also they met that day as well. but it was just such a beautiful connection between everybody and what everybody
It was
brought
like
to
the
table.
X-Men. Everyone had their own special power that they brought to bear. Yeah, it was
and
so
it all
great.
just worked in sync. It was one of the more delightful ones I think that we have done. And the energy in that room now, I know I joke about it every time, but it is like a TOFOP committee meeting.
Yes, totally. Now it is. Now that we've established this kind of like residency at the basement comedy
there is
club.
a TOFOP chorus.
Yes.
Like ordinarily, it would annoy me when people like yell out too much at a gig, or like. But there is a vibe at these shows that is so interactive in a lovely way.
Yes,
like and. Like, it's got a touch of pantomime about it now because there's a real like
call and response,
or people know what they're doing. It's such a good vibe. But for Ed and Kirsty to just walk into that and fit in so beautifully, but that thing you said about X-Men, because Ed Cavalier, like he is absolutely like an X-Man, right? He's got that big gym X-Man body.
Yes.
But then he's got this like
special... He's like cyborg.
Yeah.
Like he's connected to the
mind
internet.
meld. He wouldn't care about getting on the Wi-Fi here at Little Listener Studio because...
It would be in his head.
There's something... He was able to access information so quickly that if he wanted to leave entertainment and just become... Like, a podcast that has like an awesome, like, in-studio producer who would be like Rogan style, who's constantly looking things up. So as they're having the conversation, the stuff is appearing and moving the conversation forward. He would be the best in the world at that job because his capacity to listen to what we were doing, but also Googling something that was going to work in 5 minutes time, teeing it up. Like we were talking about, I mean, people will have heard this, but a storyline from
Blue Heelers.
Your time on Blue Heelers, which he managed to find in the time we were having the conversation, he was flicking through to the piece that would have taken me 6 weeks if I had to find that.
I don't know. I mean, he messaged me after the show just to say, thanks for having me. And I was like, I didn't want to press him on it because I asked him 2 or 3 times, how did you find it so quickly? And he kept like blowing me off.
He'd just be like, I'm on the dark web. I'm
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But after a while, you're like,
why? What does he have access to?
I don't think I think he's got a Neuralink or something.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Because I think the phone is a screen. Like I've been seeing a lot of magic shows recently, and the ones that I've decided that I've been really interested in, there is a style of magic that seems to be, all building up to the big reveal, the ta-da, right? All the palaver and the build-up and the whatever, and then eventually they do the trick. I don't think that's my favorite type of magic. What I like is the sort of magic where the trick is done actually quite simply at the start, but no one noticed because you weren't looking for the trick yet. And then the next 5 minutes is a whole bunch of bullshit that makes you think something else is going on so that you think something amazing has happened. And you're like, I can't work out the trick. But you're like, yeah, because the trick happened literally 5 minutes ago when he swapped that card or convinced us, and then the rest of it's all been this
delayed misdirection in a way, isn't it? Because you're expecting misdirection to come up front, but the trick comes up front, and then the misdirection comes after. It's clever.
Yeah, it's really clever because you're looking in the wrong place for the misdirection.
I was glimpsing at his phone, and it was a website I didn't recognize.
I don't think there's anything on the phone. I think that's the misdirection.
Yeah, right.
Like he pretends to be on the phone while whatever's going on in his brain flicks through old pieces of footage and then projects it onto his phone.
It's just
screen.
like when you go into the Apple store and they have the fake screens. Like it's like, they've got a sticker over the screen to say, oh, this is what you would be looking at. That's just what he has.
It was Matrix-like, the way that he was on the phone.
I got the Beyond 2000, the original intro.
Great.
Robot pushing a girl in a swing. It has a guitar.
I mean, that does feel beyond 2000.
Okay, wow.
Okay, there you go.
So on this week, Beyond 2000, Finnish battering rams, like as from Finland, driverless trains.
Ooh.
And computer batteries.
Okay. Well,
this was like in the 80s.
That's not bad.
And Amanda Keller, looking very, very young. So Beyond 2000. We currently have on our Patreon 1,300 patrons. Mm-hmm. And it is our mission in the month of November to push towards 2000
and beyond.
and beyond.
Actually, for us, it should have just been towards 2000.
Towards 2000, inching towards 2000.
But was it at some stage called Towards 2000 and then it got rebranded to Beyond 2000?
I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to Google this.
Let's have a look at the history of Beyond 2000.
Because there was definitely a reboot of it. I mean, what would you call it now? Because now that we're
Beyond
in the 2000,
3000.
But it what like
or is that too far?
Is it like if you said 2100? Does that? It doesn't. It's not as evocative as 2000.
Beyond 2025.
I mean, everyone's talking about 2050, right? That's when we get our emissions down. Is that the new?
Oh yeah. No, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
There is no. They said we tried to make a show called Beyond 2050, and they wouldn't let us because they said it might be misleading.
Beyond 2000. How's that? It has no
hyperlink.
No
wiki page.
entry in Wikipedia.
Interesting.
Why has it been scrubbed off the web?
Scrubbed off the internet. It knew too much.
Is that why? Because it was too accurate in its predictions?
And they can't let people. AI is erasing Beyond 2000.
There's got to be like a dedicated Australian, archive to.
Well, you know what? The great news is that.
Okay, it did have. Okay, all right, here we go.
You're no Ed Cavalier, by the way.
No, I'm working way too slow. So. Initially, this is interesting. It was called Beyond Tomorrow.
Oh, Beyond Tomorrow.
Okay, it began airing in 1981.
I've got to pitch you a show. It's called Beyond Tomorrow. It's about Tuesday.
The day after tomorrow? Wait a minute. Okay, so Beyond Tomorrow is an Australian television series which is produced by Beyond Television Productions. It aired in 1981 as Towards 2000.
Oh, there you go. See? Towards 2000.
And then 1985 was renamed as Beyond 2000. The name of the show kept up until its cancellation in 1999.
I like that, though. In 85, they're like, you know what? We've done all the stuff that's towards 2000.
Yeah, let's get beyond
Let's get beyond it, man.
And then it got rebooted in 2005, which is when I auditioned for it, as Beyond Tomorrow. So Towards 2000 and Beyond 2000. Towards 2000 debuted on the ABC in 81 as a half-hour show dedicated showcasing developments in technology, presented by blah, blah, blah. There were 4 series of the programs. Then it got picked up by Towards 2000 by Channel 7 in 95. Then it became Beyond 2000, where it aired until 1993, from 1993 to 1999.
Ironically, it did not go beyond 2000.
Isn't that? I mean, that's a real fucking shitty TV exec to axe that 1 year. Although it makes sense, right? Like you've created a show that has
it's about Beyond 2000, mate.
Yeah, we're not paying for that. Yeah. we're here. Unless you go,
we made it.
Hey, Beyond Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Fuck, they've got me. Conceptually, they've got me.
You mean Tuesday? No, every tomorrow.
So what is the idea
behind
Beyond 2000 for us?
Well, firstly, let's talk about the motivation.
Yeah.
Partly, what we've realised a lot over the last couple of years is that, in a world full of there's the kind of big, podcast explosion, and there's a lot of podcasts that have fallen by the wayside as well. Like people started podcasts and haven't been able to financially continue to do them. We have a weird little niche in between.
We've got this little foothold. We're holding on to it as tightly as we can.
And an incredibly loyal audience.
Yeah.
We look outwards for support of the show, but most often support of the show comes from within.
Yeah.
And it's people coming to see the live shows or buying the merch or, supporting whatever harebrained scheme that we've been coming up with. And so there's, as you said, 1,300 people are on the Patreon, and that Patreon covers all of our podcasts. And so you get all of those, however many of them that you engage with. But on that Patreon already, for the 1,300 people that are there have been unique episodes of the podcast. There's been correspondence that we've answered. There's been all James Fosdyke's original artwork. There are comic book
strips.
Series. There is
Quantum Cop, Everyone Relax comic strips based on the episodes of the show. There's 8 years worth of archive material.
It's so much great stuff. And we obviously thought with, this new chapter in our life, obviously, as people know, that we just didn't have the money anymore to employ James every week to do unique art for the podcast. But there is, you would have just heard an episode that we've done with James, talking about all of that and everything and all our relationship with James. And we hope that there's going to be plenty of opportunities to collaborate with him in the future. But part of that is, how do we finance the show in a way that can support all the things that we want to do. And so we thought, we already have this great resource that we'd love to engage people in. We'd like to do more people for the people who are more things for the people who are
do
super
more
fans.
people.
We want to do more people.
So we're opening an OnlyFans.
Maybe. Anyway, that's a whole other month, but a TOFOP OnlyFans.
TOF.
So,
if Beyond 2000 doesn't work, look out for TOF. TOFOP OnlyFans.
We'll be doing Beyond 69,000, which is our OnlyFans campaign. But if this one goes well, that might be next year.
Yeah.
But we thought what we'd love people to do so that we could create more stuff for the Patreon community, unique episodes, with things we'd like to lean into being able to value add to the people who really want to support the show.
Yeah.
We need more people to sign up to the Patreon so that we can go, okay, great. Well, let's make a monthly unique episode of TOFOP, and we will do it every month because there's,
resources to do it.
We've decided that 2,000 people is the amount of people that really, can drive that being a regular thing for us to do. And if there's a real interest in it, I talk all the time about one of the shows I love, Jimmy Pardo's Never Not Funny. I subscribe to their monthly subscription, and they have a unique episode every week, and that's part of the reason I really like it, because you just get, it's a way for me to support their show, but also to get like a unique
more of what you like.
So basically what we're going to try to do is build this model, lean into it more, create more unique content for it, but also give some incentives for us to sign up to Patreon, and also keeping that entry point at that, like, just what we're looking for here is not a number of money that we're trying to raise. Although, please, if you can support us at one of the higher levels, there are some incentives. But most of the content there is available at the lowest level of subscription. So that's what we're asking. We're just saying, even if you can only afford to join up at the lowest level, then we just want to push the numbers beyond 2,000 so that we can lean into creating more stuff around it. But there's also some incentives, Charlie.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the guarantee. Yeah. So what we're guaranteeing is exclusive monthly eps.
Yeah.
Like Will says, we might even make those like fortnightly or weekly if we get to the right figure. But at this stage, monthly eps. So that's a guarantee.
Yeah.
I've also started doing something. I didn't actually tell you about this, but Patreon have introduced this new feature where you can do a live stream. So I experimented last week, which would be about 2 weeks ago by the time people hear this. So on a Friday night, I'm doing a little live stream, just a little live stream with Charlie, just a wrap up of the week, just a little chit chat where people can message me and ask me questions. And so that happens on a Friday night. So there's 2 guarantees. That's 2 reasons to sign to Patreon. But we have some incentives. So if we get to beyond 2,000, number 1, we are going to unlock an episode in which Will and I go back to the very first episode of TOFOP, titled Super Piss, and we're going to do a commentary.
Yes.
Of the very first episode.
Not of the whole episode.
Not the whole episode. As much as we can bear.
Bits and pieces, and we will talk about them.
Another incentive is that the death of Superpod.
Yes.
We've handed over the files, the bootleg files, to Mike III, and he thinks that he can remaster sections of that.
Sections.
Yes.
There's
some of it.
He's made it very clear. Sections. There's only so much he can do.
I mean, he's not a miracle worker, but it'll be a lot better. And you can sort of go back to the origin of Everyone Relax. That's obviously
right.
where
We'll have a conversation around that and do some commentary around that.
Yes, we also are going to give away some exclusive artwork, limited edition artwork signed by Will and I. We are also going to give 10 people we're going to give away 10 people a double pass to see the live shows going forward. So every month you'll go in the running for that. And what else is there? No, that's it.
I mean, that's it. I think that's it.
That's pretty much it.
We'll recap this all throughout. So we're going to run this for the whole month. And so basically we want to get
towards 2,000.
Towards 2,000 during the month, and then beyond 2,000 by December the 1st.
Yeah, by December 1st.
Yeah. So that's our aim. We know it's a lot, like an extra 700 people to sign up to the... but we're hoping that even if you can sign up just at the lowest level,
which is
$1,
get
those numbers up, and then hopefully you see enough value there to keep subscribing.
I also think too, like sometimes when you look at some people's like Instagram followers or whatever, they seem to have heaps of followers, but then you're like, oh, a lot of these are bots. Like, treat that dollar like a bot. We're okay. Like it's a dollar bot. We just want the number of followers to increase. It doesn't necessarily have to be a dollar amount.
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk ourselves out of all the money because we obviously need some of that too. But but really, this is to give us the audience on Patreon guaranteed there that we know that we can. What we think is the best thing for us to do to continue to do this show in the way that we like to do this show is to add extra value for our pre-existing audience and grow it from there. So if you are up for that, please go to the Patreon, sign up for Beyond 2000.
Now, Will, let's get to the important news. By 2050, we'll all be having sex with robots.
Okay.
If you're not having sex with a robot by 2050...
This is a great episode of Beyond 2000.
You might be in the minority. 2050.
2050.
They always throw up 2050. Yep. It's like the
2051, you know
carbon
what we're doing,
emissions.
mate? Fucking a robot.
Yeah. Because you can't go outside because you'll be poisoned. Stay in your
The
sealed
environment
room.
is entirely poisoned and human beings are infectious to you. Plus you've been desocialized to such an extent by your phone that the only thing that you can communicate with is a robot. So stay home and fuck your robot.
With VR porn and connected sex on the rise, theorists and ethicists, how do you get a job as an ethicist? What do you do a degree in ethics?
I imagine so.
That's a degree. And then who hires you?
People who need...
We've got no ethical... I guess Silicon Valley, right? I imagine that's the kind of industry they'll be like, let's hire an ethicist so we can...
Because none of us have any ethics.
Greenwash or
that's right.
Gender wash or whatever, diversity wash out.
Let's find somebody to just put a coat of paint on the outside of our ruthless capitalistic
What do you think
ambition.
an ethicist could charge per year? Like, what do you think? Where do you think they sit?
The
on
highest paid ethicist.
Yeah. Well, where do you reckon they sit in terms of income
I
per
think
year?
there would be people who work for, as you said, justifying oil companies, or it's the same thing with what's the highest paid psychologist in the world? There's probably. Did you ever watch that TV show Billions? You know, one of the main characters in Billions was a psychologist that was employed by the Wall Street dudes because they're all, psychopaths. And they need to, and so I imagine that that's based on some truth that those sort of organizations have, highly paid people like that. So I would say the same with an ethicist, that they would mostly be academic jobs probably, but there would be the rare opportunity where you could be the ethicist for a Saudi prince or an oil company or a...
So the Silicon Valley thing is we want to implant these chips into human subjects.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you look at this paperwork and give us the sign-off?
That's right, yeah.
And
Neuralink probably has an
how much money you got
on the payroll. Dr. Nick Riviera, ethicist.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's sure, humans actually love microchips in their brain. In fact, Plato once said...
Look at Ed Cavalier on this podcast. Look, he's a test subject. He's amazing.
Ethicists are weighing in on the near future implications of high-tech human sexuality. A paper titled The Rise of the Robosexuals, created by futurist Ian Pearson and internet sex shop Bondara.
What?
That's the fucking mashup we've been dying for.
What happened just then?
Futurist Ian Pearson and internet sex shop Bondara created a paper together called The Rise of the Robosexuals.
Yeah, right. Feels like fan fiction to me.
Proposes that virtual reality sex will be commonplace by 2030 and that 20 years later...
But why?
Well, okay. I think people are less inclined to... We are becoming more... Even though, ironically, we should be more connected. We're becoming more disconnected through our devices. I've actually been working on a series of art installations, which is just shows how people are just obsessed with their phones rather than looking at the world around them. It's a series of sculptures of people staring at squares. Meanwhile, around them, the glory and splendor of nature is being ignored. I'm an ethicist.
I'm an ethical... Oh, sorry, no. I'm ethically non-monogamous. That's what I meant. Sorry.
I think it's because, if I had to theorize, that, definitely people are less inclined to go out and meet people and, form kind of relationships in the way we've done for centuries. They're things like dating apps and all that kind of stuff. So I think that as porn gets more accessible and VR improves and people can buy those haptic suits, that there'll be a whole generation of people who are like incels, I imagine, would be the target market for something like this. They can't actually talk to real women.
Yeah, okay, well, that's fine. But like,
and then there'd be a bunch of disgruntled people out there like, I like sex, but I hate fucking people.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Let's get them out of the mix.
Okay. And just leave it to the rest of us.
I feel that's what I think is the case. Like the idea that this is something that everybody is going to do. Again, I don't want to be one of these people.
Don't you hear people complain? Like, every time, I talk to someone about like, who's single and dating still, they're always like, it's a, it's a jungle out there and blah, blah, blah. Don't you think that?
But no one's saying I'm going home to fuck my fucking vacuum
well, what's the
cleaner.
difference? No, but they might have a sex toy or something like that. So this is just upgrading on that. And like sex toys would be fairly common these days, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but I don't think that a lot of people are like
you foregoing real relationships for the sex toy. You think it's
just,
like,
you know what? I love my fleshlight.
Yeah.
That's
I'm going to marry it.
I don't need to leave the house.
Yeah. So you don't think? Yeah, okay. I think all right. Would you entertain the idea of there being maybe like it's not going to overtake, but if that's kind of biological sex, that VR sex would rise and that might sink a little bit, so it comes a bit closer towards the middle?
I don't think so.
Okay. You think old-fashioned penetration will always be king? Or queen? or a non-binary royal figure?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get in trouble.
Or jester.
Yeah.
All the
57...
All the court. All the court. The glorious court.
Yeah, all the colours of the court room. Yeah. The courtroom, no. I mean, it's not illegal. I'm not saying it should be illegal.
No.
That's not what I'm saying.
The opposite.
I'm saying it should be celebrated.
It should be compulsory.
Yes, exactly. And you should be put in a dungeon. No, I mean, you should be put in a dungeon.
Unless you like that.
And that day, of course.
Yeah, if you've got a Bondora.
Far from me to judge.
I'm an ethicist.
So you think old school, just getting your uglies out, rubbing them together, will always trump?
I think they're just different. So I can imagine that virtual reality replaces standard pornography, right? Absolutely. That people are having sex with a robot rather than a fleshlight or like a dildo or a giant Sure. Okay. Yeah, I can see that also, right?
Yeah.
But I think that is still a thing that is different to like whatever like sex is like between people, like it maybe some of that sex that doesn't need to exist might not exist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the sort of people having sex because they feel like getting off as opposed to any other good reason that they're having sex with each other.
Yeah, it's like
maybe
the short-fire dopamine hit as opposed to any kind of
But anything
connection.
that is about a connection, then I think, because, I haven't had a TV for a year, and I've just been amazed that you just look at the world in a different way and you just realize it's not like TV is better than this or whatever, that just one shouldn't replace the other. That having both is good. And when I go back to TV or now when I go to the movies or whatever, I feel like I'm so much more engaged in that process as well because I've been taking a break from that process.
Yeah.
And so it hasn't actually made me not like those things. It's just made me value each of them more. I think it's the same with any of these technological things, which is that there is Kindles have been around for 30 years, but I still read paper books because I just like, the feel of it. I like the,
Whereas
how I like to consume.
I'm a robosexual. I'm very much all about the Kindle. In fact, I haven't bought a physical book in ages because it's like the Kindle keeps everything in one place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take up room.
But
So then I lose my Kindle and I've lost all my books.
But you're still reading a book, aren't you? Like that's the interesting thing about a Kindle. Yeah. So even though the technology has replaced it, as you said with like the sex toys or whatever, sometimes people use sex toys by themselves. Sometimes they use them in conjunction with their relationship. So I guess maybe we then have a world of like, can we invite the robot into the bedroom? Like, do we want to like, you know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting episode of Black Mirror or something. It's like a husband and wife and one of them wants to kind of introduce a third. Or they want to introduce a third. Yeah. And it's like, and the wife's like, okay, sure, I'm up for it. Like, who are we going to ask? And he opens the cupboard and out comes a vacuum cleaner. the Roomba.
He's stuck some eyes on.
It's like, I've got to admit, like, I've been watching this Roomba, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger with his mate, I've been watching this Roomba and thinking, oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, like, that would probably happen, right? Like if you open that door, you know, this is why, you know.
I mean, people already have sex dolls.
Yeah.
So
but like, I wonder if it makes you curious about other devices.
Oh, you mean just because you've had sex with a robot,
with
you
a
suddenly think like?
Well, if there's something fetishistic about specifically machines, electronics. Like, sure, you had sex with a sex doll because it looked humanoid and stuff, but then you're like, oh, that's not actually what I'm into. It's the circuitry and the lights and the beeping and booping.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's what gets me off. And then he comes.
Yeah, so you want it to be less like a modern, like.
I want it to be less human and more robotic.
Like, Dexter from Perfect Match.
That doesn't seem too.
Yeah. You watched Perfect Match as a kid, and you like really
fuck the contestants. Yeah, like
who's that hot bunch of
the blinking lights and a glass domed skull?
You're my perfect match.
Yeah, my compatibility reading says I'm going to have sex with you, Dexter. I'll give you some dexual healing. All right, so Bondora and Dr. Ian Pearson partnered up for this paper. Okay, so they said virtual reality sex will be commonplace in 2030, and that 20 years later, a majority of people will be having sex with robots. Okay, majority of people. So that they disagree with you. They're saying that little scale will be off.
A majority of people will be having sex with robots. Yeah, but at the to the exclusion of human sex? Or are they just suggesting that instead of like masturbating, you might like, you know, because I could see that again, like in the same way as, you know, sometimes you go for a jog, sometimes you'll go on one of those running machines, right? Like it's a machine that's replacing like the same thing, but you're essentially like it serves the same function. So can I imagine a world in which virtual reality like is used for what is already used for like masturbation, right? Like,
yep.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I feel
but
like
will it replace human?
But does that mean that you would then not want human sexual relationships? That's where I think, you know.
Well, in this article, they linked to a British professor, Kathleen Richardson, who said she wants people to stop having sex with robots because she thinks it's
disgusting.
It's their purpose reinforce misguided notions about women, treating them just like objects, which, you know, makes sense.
That does make sense.
But Ian Pearson disagrees. He takes the contrary position, saying that robot sex will not harm human intimacy, but add to it. The Times have predicted robot sex at 35 years away, but Pearson predicts the nearer future will bring about a diverse variety of tech-enabled sex applications. What does that mean?
Tech-enabled
sex applications. What's a sex application? Is it like an app? Or is it?
I think maybe that's what it means.
Before sex robots go mainstream, we'll see a direct nervous system links. Okay, right, so like a neural link type thing. Dream linking and even body sharing. I need more info. We'll be able to feel other people's sensations simultaneously. Oh, that's actually quite romantic. I don't mind that.
Yeah, okay.
So you could feel the orgasm of your partner.
Yeah, like it's like
some
phone
kind
sex
of
through
Neuralink.
Yeah, so this to me feels a little bit more like this brings people closer together.
Yeah. Okay, this is not fucking your Roomba.
No. All right, let's rule that out.
We'll be able to feel other people's sensations simultaneously with our own and be able to send someone an orgasm as easily as we send a text message today.
Okay. Well, that means I feel like there's going to be a lot of
never answer my phone.
Unsolicited
like I was
orgasms.
Complaining. Wasn't I complaining yesterday about how fucking millennials never answer their phones? Like, how hard is it going to be for me to get a response when I could be sending an orgasm to someone?
You send someone an orgasm and then like halfway through the next day you just get a little thumbs up emoji.
I seem to remember someone or reading somewhere that's a thing that people do is like a little sex game is you'll put like those vibrating beads. You'll give your partner vibrating beads to put in their underpants, boy or girl, just near their genitalia. But then you'll have control over when they buzz. Yeah. So it's like you go to work. I say, hey, put these in your undies, and then periodically throughout the day I'll just buzz your nuts.
Yeah, I do that when I order like a salad.
You forget where you put
I put the buzzer down the front.
But that's kind of what it would be like, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that. Okay, like I guess if you consent beforehand, hey, send me an orgasm. You've got any time during 24 hours, but that's fucking. That's ripe for misuse.
I mean, again,
it's like that scene in Police Academy. Remember when the Commandant Lassard is giving that speech to the new recruits, and they've paid a sex worker to give him a blowjob under the podium, and rather than when he starts getting the blowjob, rather than immediately stopping and going, "Oh my God, there's someone at it," he just continues with the speech and has an orgasm on stage without kind of like. Which that's at that point of Police Academy, I thought this doesn't feel realistic.
This academy is being operated correctly.
But
all sorts of hijinks these police are up to.
I mean, like if you could, that sounds like a Jackass kind of challenge. It's like you go out into the day. Yeah. All right, so you and I, we have one orgasm we can send each other at any time during the day, right?
Gross.
So what? But I guess you can't just stay at home because the thing is like you've got to
you got to go about your life.
You've got to go about your life. So, right, what are you going to do? Like you need to. Couldn't be in public, so you'd have to try and avoid crowds. Definitely avoid anything at primary schools. Anything near
when it's
playgrounds.
been sent, it doesn't mean it triggers one in me. I'm just getting the feeling of yours, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
I thought it was
meant to ejaculate.
I don't know.
I don't know how it works.
I don't think.
Well, how can you get the feeling of an orgasm without the?
I don't think we can have a thing where we can just buzz someone,
make them blow,
make them come. It doesn't feel like I can't be behind this.
I like that.
Beyond 2000,
we call it "Come as you are." Come where you are is probably what.
I mean, can you imagine how exploited?
That's what I'm saying. It's dangerous. Okay. All right. So yeah, send an orgasm rather than actual ejaculation.
Yeah, I think invite in a consensual, invited fashion.
Like what about we call it ejaculator?
Ejaculator.
It's an app called Ejaculator.
Yeah.
And it's like you send your friend an ejaculation or a squirt. Squirt or ejaculator.
Hey, can you squirt me later? Hit me up on ejaculator. Yeah, no E. It's got just like a send us a squirt later.
Squirt's so good. Okay. The Times have predicted robot sex 35 years away, but Pearson predicts the nearer future will bring about a diverse variety of tech-enabled sex applications before they go mainstream. Okay, so we said all this. Sorry, I reread this. The dream linking the body sharing, feeling people's sensations. Future technologies will make sex easier, safer, more frequent, and it'll be a lot more fun.
Okay.
Pearson told Daily Dot via email that sex robots will be sociologically beneficial in eliminating sexual hang-ups. They'll make the emotional barriers even lower, take away the remaining guilt, improve mental health, and people will get even more from their lives. Okay.
I mean, that's a big promise.
It is. That makes sense if it's then applied to... Because you still got to measure it by human metrics, right? Like to say, oh, someone's got over their shyness or their whatever it is. That's only... If they only stick with the robot, then you haven't really like reintegrated them with society. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, like while I'm not here to kink shame anybody, there are some people's proclivities that are probably best kept private rather than having the confidence to share with everybody.
You know what? I just fucked my vacuum cleaner.
I'm like, all right, Gary, but just keep it to yourself. Like, I'm here for you, but like, I don't need to hear about it.
Yes, and Godfrey's have announced mass layoffs.
That's right.
They just find out that
after a few lay-ons,
half their staff are just fetishists. It's like the only reason I work at Godfrey's. I mean, you saw it's like that bowling ball. It got me thinking.
Yeah, it's like going door to door, suddenly getting a lot more sales. Like you've seen it suck a bowling ball. Now, take off your pants because I'm going to give you a real demonstration.
But what of our attraction to living, breathing humans?
What about that?
Yeah. We all see gorgeous people on TV and other media all the time.
On TV, of course.
But we still love our real partners, even if they aren't quite the supermodels or sex stars.
Yeah.
Pearson told the Daily Dot via email. Just as today's internet pornography has concrete
Internet pornography.
Internet. Just as today's internet pornography. Internet penography. Have you ever into penography?
Yeah, I love like good
So it
calligraphy.
depends where you turn upside down in the bathing suit. Falls off the lady.
Yeah, I'm just really into peno.
Yeah.
I love it.
You said peno, right?
Yeah.
You've got a real,
Yeah, sorry.
I'm a real peno.
I know, it is too close to the other one. You're right.
I should really think about it.
No.
I'm really into podiatry,
Yeah, I'm
actually.
a real biro.
Just as today's internet pornography has concrete effects on one's perceptions, real relationships will still be valued highly. To him, robot sex does not register as a threat, but a boon to human sexuality.
David Boone, little David Boone robot.
Well, you had those little boonies that VB were giving away for a while. The ones
Imagine
that
if
like,
they started to be able to fuck.
Hey, well, they just talk dirty to you. Just pillow talk.
Booney,
Yeah. I'm gonna do you as many times as I drank those beers in that flight
like
from London to
suck you down
Sydney.
like 52 beers.
Dr. Kathleen Richardson hardly shares this point of view. The robotics ethicist.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah,
that's how you get a
nice.
job. From De Montfort University in Leicester, sorry. Kicked off her campaign against sex robots this month on the grounds that such technology demeans the way humans interact with and are intimate with each other.
Yeah.
If anything, the development of sex robots will further reinforce relations of power that do not recognize both parties as human subjects.
See, I can
wrote in a paper.
I can see that, right? Because like even in regular pornography,
You're
like,
objectifying.
there's a lot of stuff that is pretty crook, right? Like it feels to me anyway. It's certainly not to, and seems to have, like, even though it's presented in the way of this is a fantasy thing, like a lot of the messaging around power dynamics and relationships and stuff isn't really great. And so if you then take that to a like thing where it's even less discernible from the real world in a virtual reality sense, and then you just let people reinforce those power dynamics, then like they say, you always are reading these studies of the way that young men are behaving sexually is influenced by what they're seeing in pornography, right? So would this then be a more damaging step in that direction? You could at least entertain arguments like this ethicist seems to have that could be the case.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
But not old mate who was not fucking Peabody or whatever his name is.
Pearson.
Peabody.
It's like the dog, the time-traveling dog.
Yeah. Like he seemed to think it was like going to cure everything and everything was going to be great. But the professor is not so into that.
No, she critiqued Pearson's ideas via email. I noticed a distinct lack of ethics. Well, she's really pulling out the big guns here.
Yes, I'm an ethicist.
I'm an ethicist.
And I'm noticing his lack of ethics.
In his description, as if technology is just produced free from race, class, gender, and sexuality. There is so much evidence now that proves this to the contrary, that technology isn't produced by aloof visionaries, but by real men and women living in real lived social relations. Technology is all about the ethics of the people who make it.
She loves ethics.
She does love it. She's
Yeah.
dropped it twice. As an ethicist,
Oh.
Pearson doesn't agree with her anti-sex robot campaign at all.
What?
He likened it to an sorry, I'm quoting for people listening. I'm doing air quotes for people listening on. An unwise repeat of the prudish campaigns against casual sex. Rather than replace making love to humans, he says, sex robots will occupy their own unique niche. The love you may one day feel for a robot will be different from the love that you will still have for a human partner. Drinking tea doesn't mean you won't want coffee sometimes.
Okay.
That's a real poor analogy. I think he's wrong. I understand. I think you're right. Like, it depends on the person. Like, I think that for someone who's already kind of well balanced with healthy attitudes to all these kind of things, then yeah, sure, fine. But I do think that if you are someone who is already kind of like struggling with something, or you have been fed unhealthy tropes about sexual interactions or whatever, then this is a chance for you to do it consequence free, to act out these fantasies that you've seen. Like, I don't know it is the healthiest option. I think you need, I'm not against it, but I think you need like a balance of both.
Well, what if it were something for example, and I don't want to get too heavy around this subject, but say it was something that was illegal.
Yep.
Like killing somebody, right?
Yep.
But in this virtual reality world, you are able to act out this fantasy of killing somebody. Not even in a sexual way. I just mean literally that
or necrophilia
or whatever it
like
is.
That.
Yeah, whatever this thing that society has decided this is against the values of a society. But you are a person who has a natural compulsion to these things, because we know that people do, because they do them regardless of them being things that are both considered to be illegal and morally wrong by the rules of our society. People still transgress that and do these things. If you could get those people and say you can do it in this world that isn't real, is that a good thing because they then get to do it in a bar, or does that give them permission structure to do it enough in that world that they think I'll go and take it to the real world? That's where it gets hard, because I could hear arguments of going, oh, this is great, they can channel it into there, it stops them from ever intruding that into anywhere or to hurt anybody else. But I could also hear arguments from people saying, yes, but in them normalizing it in there, if we say it's okay in there, then it normalizes it in the...
Well, it's the kind of violent video games argument, isn't it? Because, there is this idea that, there's arguments on both sides where people say they're reinforcing kind of antisocial behavior and it's glorifying violence and, blah, blah, blah. But then there's the other side, which is well, it's not just that.
Yeah.
There's other kind of real world examples and guardrails that need to be in place to stop people feeling like they can act with impunity in those instances. But just anecdotally, when I used to play video games, if I played, Vice City for 6 hours, you do come out of that fog thinking that you can just steal a car and drive as fast as you want. It is weird. So there is some conditioning around it. And I imagine that particularly with something like sex, which is so primal and is an impulsive drive, that if you just keep reenacting the same thing or focusing on that fetish rather than having to deal with someone who's hey, these are my boundaries, meet me halfway on this, or, rather than being a one-way kind of satisfaction, because that's what ultimately a good sexual relationship is both people get out of it what they like, and it's not just a case of this is what I want for my gratification and moves in this direction. If you're only with something that's compliant to your needs, then ultimately I think you're going to when you go back into the real world, you're going to come up against someone who's I'm not a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is we need a TOFOP ethicist.
Oh my God. Submit your CVs. Go to everyonerelax.co, go to the contact form, send us why you should be TOFOP's ethicist.
Do we have any ethicists? I mean, because we know that we're the number one.
I think listening to this podcast would disqualify you from being an ethicist.
No, but it might be the sort of thing where it might be
we're
good,
a case study.
Right? If you're an ethicist, you might listen to, I mean,
we talked about giving away medical bracelets to our listeners.
We have
What's
a friend,
the ethical dilemma there?
Because of the nature of what we're talking about, I won't be too specific about this, but we have a friend who works in the field of psychology and therapy. And they expressed to me that often when they were growing up, they often, around comedians and artists and whatever, were
diagnosing them.
Yeah, and basically learning
like Harlequin.
How,
she was just working with the Joker and going, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, I was born in the darkness. I was born in the circus. It raised me. So I maybe we do have. I would love to know if there's
I'm sure we have some
out there.
psychologists. If you want to be our ethicist, and when we come onto a topic like this, we can consult you, or you can, throw in your 2 cents.
Yeah, I would love to have an official TOFOP ethicist.
Most of these assertions about the intersection of sex and technology are hypotheticals for the time being. If we look at the hard evidence of the present, we see that VR pornography is already beginning to propagate on today's headsets, and wireless sex toys with haptic feedback can respond to the scenes in real time, stimulating your body in ways that blurs the line between real and virtual. This year, porn giant Pinehub,
right?
The pineapple, the
pineapple that's what people
fetish site. Yeah,
it's this is what we've evolved to, is just using a pineapple.
This year, porn giant Pornhub.
Why
does it
Pine Giant Pornhub?
Yeah. Brought to life.
bought forests. Acres and acres of forests.
Wow, I had no idea about this. So Pornhub brought to life a twerking robotic bum that heats up to a human-like 98.6 degrees. And people are already buying and banging humanoid robots.
I mean, to me, that just feels like one of those things that, like, regardless, again, like, why, if somebody can use a vibrator, you can use, like, a fleshlight, you can use a sex toy. Like, I'm not here to judge, genuinely. But it's one of those things where if I had, like, a humanoid bum, like, where do you keep it? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you have somewhere that you've locked it under? Like, is it just casually in the back of the cupboard? Like, does it have its own?
Just say you start, like, dating someone.
Yeah.
And it's all going really well, connect on every level.
Yeah.
And then you're staying overnight, you're brushing your teeth, and then you're looking for something, and you open it, and you find life-like rubber bum. Do you bring it up?
No, I mean, because here's the thing I would say is,
it wasn't hidden. It was in the bathroom.
right.
But do you bring it up? I think I would. I'd have to. Because otherwise I'm just going to be constantly thinking about it. And there might be a very good explanation.
Yeah, I like to fuck that giant bum. And that's fine. Like, again, I'm not here to kink shame anybody. And as I said, like, it's very common for people to have sex toys. So, like, why not a giant rubber bum? But,
well, it is a niche sex toy. So I think, like, sure, everyone has sex toys, but I'd like, what's going on with the bum? What are you doing with that? Is it a pillow? I mean, imagine if they say, I've just got a really bad neck.
Pillow. What are you talking about?
Well, I tried, I couldn't find my neck, but then...
If you come out and you're like, what's with this fuck bum? And she's like, my neck pillow.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, of course.
Oh my God.
Neck pillow.
Well, you might want to let that dry off before you go to bed.
You didn't tell me you're into fuck bombs. Oh boy,
I love it. I am too. I just
your turn.
Gave it a go. It's amazing.
Get out.
I'm meant to be flying to Perth tomorrow.
The precursors to Pearson's predicted sex applications are already here in elementary forms, though they are niche. How candid would you be about your Roxy sex robot if you had one at home today? I don't know. Why are you asking me that? So what do we look for to monitor the casual mainstreaming of virtual reality sex and robot sex? Pearson says we ought to pay attention to celebrities and tastemakers.
Yeah. It does feel like if it was celebrity-led.
Like if Cardi B all of a sudden's like, I got a boyfriend now and he's a robot.
Yeah.
Tang, or whatever she says when she makes noises. That's how they talk.
That's how the robot talks.
Yeah. Sizzy.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Cardi B. If she started dating like her toaster, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to have to think about toasters.
What if Cardi B came out with a Cardi B 2? And it's like a robot Cardi sex doll. Like, she's like, I like this.
All it does is talk dirty to you, but you have no idea what it's saying.
Yeah, but in like, I guess that's good.
All right, let's get to the mailbag. We'll finish up soon, but we've backlogged so much mail. This is actually came to us via the Patreon. This is very appropriate for Beyond 2000 that we read some Patreon correspondence. Oh, sorry. Wow. They've changed the layout of the letters on this, and so it makes it hard for me to find. Here we go. It's more a letter for you than for me.
Okay.
And it's not letting me read it, so let's fuck that off and go to the regular mailbag. Okay, this is from... oh, shit!
What?
You know what I forgot to do?
I'll crack the pack.
Crack that pack, or, a.k.a. Simp Biscuit.
Simp Biscuit, that's right. Okay.
Now, do you want to... We'll do yours, because they're fresher.
Okay.
All right, guys. Will's just going to go get the biscuits. I've brought in a bit of a... because we're bulk recording, so over the next few episodes, we're going to have a bit of a journey with the Crack That Pack. A lot of different biscuits. And what I realized about Crack That Pack is we'd been ignoring a significant part of our audience, which is listeners who are gluten-free haven't so far been able to join in the fun of Crack That Pack. So in coming episodes, we're going to feature some gluten-free snacks as well, which I know Will's excited about because there's nothing Will likes more than gluten-free biscuits. And so if you are gluten-free, stay tuned to Crack That Pack. Okay, Will, what do we got here?
Okay, so we got a choice here. So now one of our listeners, Joe, I think.
Joe, yes.
So I think it was Joe. I apologise if it's not Joe, but immediately after you gave me these cookies, I went downstairs and discovered that I had asked our guests to come an hour and a half early to our podcast. And so my brain went into a little bit of a panic. But here's what I can tell you is that she went to the South Melbourne markets, which we've been to before. There are 2 cookies, 2 different flavours. So
okay. So we'll do half each?
We'll do half each. So, okay, you've opened that one. So let's go with that. That's just the chocolate chip. Classic. Yeah. A classic chocolate chip. So let's just...
Okay. I'll go first.
You go first.
Okay, you talk.
Yeah, I'll talk. So this is like... we have been to this South Melbourne market before. Pretty good success. This is like old school though. Like this is just like, nothing fancy. Chocolate chip. Just in my hand feel... It's very...
Crack That Pack. You didn't play your Simp Biscuit, Mike? The one that you haven't got that on file? Your Fred Durst impression? Okay. Look, let me just give my...
Yeah, you go first.
My initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan.
Yeah.
It's
a bit too bulky.
It's bulky. It's really gooey on the inside in terms of not like gooey chocolate, but like it's like uncooked dough.
That's what it doesn't feel as like. It looks to the sight. It doesn't look as successful.
I know some people love that. People like eating cookie dough, and that's a thing. And it's like you break up with your boyfriend, you sit on the couch and eat cookie dough. I'm not into that. So my initial thoughts are it's too sweet. I'm not a fan. Is this from the same? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. No, I like their other ones much better. That's a big. It's not terrible, but I'm not going to finish that. I'll give it a C minus. For me. Definitely not S tier. That is well below even a McVitie's digestive for me.
I am going to say. The outside would probably be like a B plus. Like so the crunchy bit on the outside, really like it. Probably like you, a touch too sweet for me. The one that we had last time was not as sweet, and I like that. This one comes across. It's got, I think, a couple of different types of chocolate in it still, even with the chocolate chip. Yeah. And I agree with you with the chocolate chip. I don't like the gooey center.
No.
It doesn't seem to suit the... So, I'm not as harsh on it, but I'm going to say like a C plus probably.
Okay, C minus and C plus. So what do we call that? Just the chocolate chip from South Melbourne Market?
That's the chocolate chip. But I will have a little bit of the crunchy top of it, but I wouldn't eat the whole rest of it. No, that wasn't my favourite.
Oh, well, that's a really lame start to this bulk record of Crack That Pack. But let's get...
That's good though, because it means that we're not going to eat too much of this one, so that we've got some room for later.
For the others. Okay, this is a little bit of mail we got from Alistair saying, listening to Read It in Seth Rogen's voice, you were talking about how TOFOP can finally achieve the fame it deserves. You mentioned getting name-checked by famous people, but you also mentioned fame happening posthumously. Mm-hmm. It made me think about the fame that has erupted for artists after their passing. I immediately thought about the worldwide explosion of attention on INXS after Michael Hutchence passed. Mm-hmm. So, in that vein, would one of you consider having a strangle wank? Mm-hmm. And out of two of you, who'd be the most likely to be found like that? Mm-hmm. Never thought I'd be writing strangle wank to you, dearest Clara. Signed, Alistair. Well, be me, I reckon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just don't think I would have the dexterity to be able to...
But, I mean, if that happened, right, like... I was on TV once upon a time. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would even crack page 5? Australian podcaster, ex-Home and Away. Like, you often see, like, ex-Home and Away star, arrested for drugs or whatever. So there would be a small column somewhere, podcaster, ex-home and away actor, found dead in suspicious.
I think if it's sus, like if it's one of those things that is salacious in its very nature. So the way that you died is curious to people regardless.
Yeah.
So that sexual element of it, I think, would be a curiosity. I think the fact that you're on Home and Away, that's a pretty good headline. That's clickbait.
Yeah.
But you were also a cop on Blue Heelers, right? So you've got that great thing from a media point of view of being able to contrast.
Someone who betrayed the moral.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think, and not to overstate my role in this, but I think the fact that we were like partners would give a level of
imagine that. Even in death, they say Will Anderson's podcast host found dead.
At least some articles, that's what would happen. Like I'd have to break my silence on what I thought about it. You know, people would be curious about how I went on.
I mean, I guess in the spirit of this episode, it wouldn't be a strangle wank. It'd be like home and away actor found dead, vacuum attached to penis.
Yeah, that's right. Homemade sex robot.
He sucked his internal organs out through his penis.
Didn't even know that was the thing that could happen.
We left a note saying, "I wanted it. This is the way I wanted. I wanted to die doing what I loved." All right. That is TOFOP for this week. As we've stated, this is the month of Beyond 2000.
Yes.
So if you can sign up to our Patreon for any amount, we would greatly appreciate it. Heaps of great bonus content to be unlocked. Also guaranteed fresh monthly episodes every week. Friday nights, you get a live stream with me. There's so much value. There is 8 years worth of back catalogue, TOFOP correspondence, artwork, lots of great stuff to sign up for. But we're also doing live shows. We've got 2 more coming up, November 30 and December 21st at the Basement Comedy Club in Melbourne. They're so much fun. Like every time I fly down for them, I'm like, what's going to happen? Like I get nervous because it's like, I have no idea. And then I always walk away going, that was so great. I wish more people could come to that. I wish they had a bigger capacity because it's just such a fun show. And I had so many people message who were in the audience yesterday saying that was like one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I agree. That was really fun. And people will have been able to hear that. But do come along. They are... such a fun vibe to be part of.
And if you can't support the show financially, completely understand. Times are tough right now. Just tell people about the show. Get as many listeners as we can. All the numbers count towards getting us some full-time sponsorship, which is ultimately the goal here at Listener. Go to everyonerelax.co. Check out all our great podcasts. Will, you got anything to promote?
I don't know. Question Everything is on
Back
ABC.
on
You can watch all of those episodes on ABC iView. I am on tour with Adam Spencer.
Oh, yes, of course.
In various places, depending on, when and where you're listening to this. But if you're listening to it immediately, there might be still some Sydney gigs, and then Brisbane's pretty much all sold out. I think maybe there's some in Wollongong and Newcastle, but there's not a lot of tickets left for the tour, so be quick.
All right. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.
You